It's that time of the day where you guys, our Israel Brief community, join me, Rolene Marks, right here on the Israel Brief for your top stories making headlines in Israel. And as always, we are brought to you in partnership with Lay of the Land. More about where you can find Lay of the Land a little later, but it is day 298 since the start of Israel's war with Hamas. I cannot believe that now for nearly 300 days, I mean, we're getting very, very close to marking 1 year since the invasion of Hamas terrorists on the 7th of October, which saw over 1,200 people raped, burnt alive, mutilated, tortured, murdered, and over 250 taken captive in the Gaza Strip. To date, there are still 115 hostages that remain inside the Gaza Strip. We want them home now. It's so important that we keep reminding the world, who has a very short memory, of why we are at war and exactly what's at stake. So let's take a look at those top stories, and we go back to Majd al-Shams, and all 12 of the victims of Hezbollah's deadly rocket attack have been laid to rest. These were all children between the ages of 10 to 20, and the scenes coming from Majd al-Shams are absolutely shattering. In Israel, the atmosphere is one of deep mourning and devastation for our Druze brothers and sisters. Now, yesterday, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu went to Majd al-Shams, and he was faced with quite a few protests. However, the Prime Minister visited with grieving families, and he vowed that the response to the massacre will be very, very harsh. The Israeli Security Cabinet gave the permission to Defense Minister Yoav Gallant and the army to come up with a response, and we don't know too much about it, but what we do know, in order to do not escalate region-wide, it will be harsh, but it will be contained. Meanwhile, the U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin says that he doesn't think that war between Israel and Hezbollah is inevitable. He says there is still hope for a diplomatic solution. But I do have to say one thing for sure, that since the 8th of October, Hezbollah have been firing thousands of rockets and drones. In fact, a short while ago, medics said that a man was critically injured during a rocket attack in the north earlier today. So this is from the kibbutz of Goshrim. These attacks are deadly. They have been continuing since the 8th of October. Now, Hezbollah denied responsibility for the rocket attack on Saturday that killed 12 children. However, the evidence of the rocket debris found at the site is evident of an Iranian Falak 1 missile, and the IDF have said they know to the finite detail where that rocket was fired from and who fired it. And I'm inclined to believe our democratic army, the Israel Defense Forces, over an internationally prescribed terrorist organization, Hezbollah. The Israeli Minister of Foreign Affairs, Israel Katz, has called on NATO to expel Turkey from their organization. Now, this follows threats by President Erdogan, who says he is going to invade Israel for the sake of Palestinians, and also has engaged in very, very harmful rhetoric. Katz says he has instructed all diplomats to speak to NATO members and called for an unequivocal condemnation of Erdogan's threats and rhetoric, and has called for the expulsion of member state Turkey. Tensions have been developing between Israel and the United Kingdom since the election of a Labour government just a couple of weeks ago. The Labour government, which is maybe seen as more favourable to the Palestinians, have said that in their foreign policy they want to take a more measured approach. However, some of the stances over the last, I think it's about 3 weeks now, have been extremely worrying. The Labour Party have said that they will withdraw their blocking of applications or withdraw their objections to possible arrest warrants being handed out to Prime Minister Netanyahu and Defense Minister Gallant by the International Criminal Court. Now, we know that this is very politicized by the ICC, and what is quite astounding is that if the ICC come for Israel, which they have no jurisdiction due to the law of complementarity, which means that we have the Supreme Court in place here to investigate any allegations, what stops them coming for the United Kingdom, for the United States, and other democratic countries? The United Kingdom also announced that there's a possibility they could move forward with an arms embargo. However, the Times newspaper reporting today that this could be delayed because they want to investigate and go through reports where exactly those arms are used. And also, there is a lot of movement within the Labour Party to try and recognize a Palestinian state. Now, while Prime Minister Keir Starmer said Israel has an absolute right to defend herself, for many of us in Israel, we are feeling that has Keir Starmer squandered the goodwill of the British Jewish community, something that Jewish community leadership have expressed to him. We've also had a request from Britain's chief rabbi to meet with Keir Starmer to express concerns about what the stance could mean for the Jewish community in the United Kingdom. However, it's not all doom and gloom. The Secretary of Trade and Business announced earlier today that they would be announcing free trade agreements with several countries, including the State of Israel. It aims to bring negotiators to the table to look at ways to increase trade and cooperation, and he said it will be within internationally recognized borders of Israel. So it's not all doom and gloom, but we are watching with a lot of concern as to where foreign policy is starting to move in the United Kingdom. And finally, Ismail Haniyeh, the political chief of Hamas, and the Secretary General of Palestinian Islamic Jihad are in Iran to attend the inauguration of newly elected President Masoud Pezeshkian. Now, for anybody thinking that Pezeshkian is a reformer, he is not a reformer. He is fully sanctioned by the Ayatollah al-Khamenei, who met with Haniyeh and the Secretary General of Palestinian Islamic Jihad. However, Pezeshkian has said he will speak to all countries, of course, except for the State of Israel. And we remind all our viewers that Iran remains the biggest sponsor of state terrorism in the Middle East and around the world. During their meeting, they are believed to have reiterated support for what they call Palestinian resistance. The Ayatollah has also threatened that should war break out or should Israel retaliate for Majd al-Shams, Israel could pay a heavy price. So those are top stories, but now we get to the audience question of the week. It comes from Tracy in Canada, who says, is there a death penalty in Israel? Well, technically yes and technically no. A death penalty has only been enacted once in Israel, and that was to hang Adolf Eichmann, one of the architects of the final solution following his trial. But there is a lot of debate in Israel amongst some saying maybe should we reinstitute it so that terrorists who commit acts of terror, who murder Israeli civilians, maybe they should face the death penalty. But it also brings with it another conundrum. Doesn't that just give them what they want by turning them into martyrs? Definitely food for thought. But if you want some more food for thought, please don't forget to visit our website at www.layoftheland.online. If you like our YouTube channel, it's right here at the Israel Brief. If you like us, please hit that red subscribe button. Let's grow our community. We are on Facebook at Lottel Site. Welcome new members. And Thank you for all your wonderful messages of support, not only for us in our time of mourning following the massacre at Majd al-Shams, but also for our Olympic team who are going great guns in Paris. And you can also follow us on the X, I was going to say on the Twitter, at Lay of the Land 5. From a boiling hot Israel that's addling my brain, I'm Rolie Marks. Guys, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. God bless you all, and I look so forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye for now.